Hello and welcome to Midweek Gaming. We're back once again. This is episode number 60, believe it or not, of Midweek Gaming. Back once again on a fine Wednesday, and someone was playing it in the background as well. Someone's streams behind. So yeah, it's in the UK we're having great weather. It's nice and sunny today actually. It's unbelievable for the UK.
Dark and gloomy
Yeah,
here.
We get 3 days of the year, so we're making use of it.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we're back. Stubbs is back making videos. Big response to my thoughts on Gears of War, and I've had a positive feedback. So I'm going to focus on making Gears content, video wise. I will.
Is it all about shotguns, isn't it?
I will make it. I'll tell you what. I'm going to make a video just about that Pacific gun. I think just for you.
Oh, you're that guy. Huh?
Thanks for that idea. I'm that guy. Yeah. So welcome. This week we have we've got Moan from the Any and Everywhere podcast. I've known Moan for quite a while.
2 years, right?
About 2 years now, yeah.
You
He
poor
actually
sod.
featured on this podcast. Don't ask me what number. When I was in hospital
Well,
with a
you
broken
wasn't
knee,
there, so you wouldn't know the number.
when Mr. Tushi hosted it, and it went quite wrong, but apparently everyone enjoyed it. It was on with Max as well.
Yep.
And that was last time, but he wasn't personally on it when I was hosting. But how are you doing, Moan?
I'm good. Still alive. That's not the main gist of it, right?
Yep.
But other than that, yeah, I guess what's been going on is, as you can see, I'm back on the podcast tip. We took a break for a while. Max had a baby, so he had to focus on that. So it was either YouTube,
Definitely.
podcast, and baby. So of course his YouTube channel. He's doing very well, so check him out. In the middle of this podcast, I'll probably put his YouTube page in the comments. You guys can check him out. I think he's over 1,000 subscribers now. I think he's almost
Yeah.
Yes, so Max is, yes.
Yeah. So
if you say hi in chat, if you type it, I'll make you a mod so you can do that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. It's good to have you on. It is.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but we have a new podcast, me and a couple other buddies. It's right here. I'll post that as well in the link. And it's been a while since I've streamed. I haven't streamed in a while either. I've been getting ready for this. I have a baby on the way, so I'm getting ready for this. And my entire studio that used to be upstairs is in the basement now. So yeah, I got thrown in a dungeon. So,
at least you still got the option. Many people
I know,
don't.
right?
I have an outside shed.
But other than that, I'm happy to be back.
Good to hear. So this week we also have Luke Steele from Green Pass Gaming here. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, good to be here. And some interesting topics, interesting opinions, I think, on some of these. So, very happy to be here.
Good to hear. And Moan, you're already a moderator already. I've just noticed.
Okay, all right, cool. Thanks.
You can post whatever. But yeah, good to have you back on, Luke. I messaged you in the week, and you're like, "I'm free Wednesday. If you need me."
Yep.
Not, don't worry.
Yep. Rare day off. So very, very happy.
Definitely, it's good to hear. Right, so where we got next? VJ, how you doing?
Hello there. Hello, good evening all. Thanks for having me back on the show, Mr. Stubbs, and nice to see Luke here as well. And looking forward to the show.
Good to hear. And Removable, as always. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And of course, it's brilliant to see Moan back. And of course, speak to Luke again. Hello, Macy, my friend. It's been a while, but good luck with the newborn. I feel you. Welcome to the lack of sleep. I'm sure you will survive.
Yeah, but video games are more important. Come on.
yeah, that's it. We trained this well, isn't it, to work on about 3 hours worth of sleep. But the trouble is, those 3 hours now be taken up with kids.
Well, that's why I say the big toe comes into play, because you can set the kid in the rocker, and you take your big toe and shake him while you're playing the game. So I'm gonna get that big toe strong.
But it's great to have both of you here, and I'm looking forward to the topics tonight. So yeah, let's kind of push it forward then, Stubbs.
Yes, thanks. Well, Just do a few shout outs before we start. Welcome back from the dead. He usually is number one in the chat with the comments. Well done. He's done it this week. Welcome to Darren, Lazy Foo, sorry. Bowman Gamer, who was complaining that we were late as normal, so I thought I'd better start the show. Moan Dogg Gaming. If you don't listen, I always shout people out that are in chat, even if you're on the panel. Which is what I do.
Thank you.
Also, we have, I haven't said his name in ages, Xeno Killer, probably said it wrong. Welcome, mate. VJ, Luke Steele, I think that. And then we've got Redders TV. Redders from Xbox Live Party Podcast, who Animated Evil was on the other night. That was a good show.
Ooh.
It was. Let's just go down a bit. Yeah, that's it currently. So this week is a bit of a mix. We basically got. I'll just go over this topic. So PlayStation had a state of play, which it's kind of a new concept. I mean, this probably is a thing going forward because of marketing deals, and why not use the platform that PlayStation have? It's a big one to market the new Harry Potter game, Hogwarts Legacy. So what the question will be is obviously, hopefully, some people checked out the game and the stream. And what are you also? I want to ask you because there's a lot of concerns about because J.K. Rowling owns Harry Potter. Even though I'm telling you now, the woman's a billionaire, mate. She's not going to notice much money going in her bank account from the Harry Potter game. You know, she's stinking rich. I'm like, she must be one of the richest women in the world. You know what I mean? So she won't notice much going in her bank. When you get to that level, it's just she won't even notice. But I would ask you about the concerns because there's a lot of concerns around because many people don't like her. But so, what's your impressions of Hogwarts Legacy, Moan? And do you have any concerns about J.K. Rowling? If you don't have any concerns, don't feel pressured to have any. You know how the internet is. We won't judge you on this show. Don't worry.
Well, I am one of the late boomers. I saw the video probably about yesterday.
Oh, today I watched it actually.
Yeah, so I am not a Harry Potter's fan, right? So, but my wife loves it. It's on the TV every night because she likes to sleep to it. I get why people are addicted to it. I see why she's rich. But when I watched the game, to be honest with you, it's not my thing. But I was actually pretty impressed. I guess what impressed me the most was the character progression. I was surprised it really goes deep into it. Yeah, and you usually don't. Usually when developers come out with these games, it's let's take a look at Cyberpunk, right? It's usually rushed. It's usually they don't work out everything, and you get this ball of crap that comes out. But this one looks fine and refinished. It's not one of those things where we got with Halo when it first came out, right? Where it had this huge backlash. I was actually surprised and impressed. I don't know. It looks cool. I'm not a fan of Harry Potter, but from what I've seen, the game looks good. I like character progression games.
It doesn't, from what I understand, I'm not a big Harry Potter expert, but from what I could gather from the video, it doesn't actually technically follow the book because it's hundreds of years before the books.
From what it looks like to me, it's adding bits and pieces of, I guess the game revolves around the Hogwarts school. And when I was watching the trailer, what I don't like is when you feel like you're stuck in this fixed environment, like how the old Spider-Mans used to be, where it wasn't free swinging. You're just swinging in this area. Then it goes into another one. And it looked like that in the beginning until I finally saw the video when they finally go outside the school. So I said, okay, so you can take everything you do in there, do as much as you can in there, and you can go out into the open world. So that was my biggest fear of that, because I can't stand those type of games. It's like they don't have any creativity when they do that.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It does look good.
Yeah,
it does, but Would it be a game that you'd ever pick up, or would it be a game that if it ever hit Game Pass you'd try out, or on
Oh yeah, if it
sale,
hits
or...
Game Pass, yeah,
Well,
I'll try it.
You got it.
That's the beauty of it.
It's there. I'm not saying it. To be fair, I don't think a game like that would initially.
No,
I think it'd be like the Guardian. If it really is good, I think it'd be probably like be.
yeah. But it's
how the
made by WB, right?
Guardians of the Galaxy hit after.
Yeah, but
I
it's
think
made by
it'd be
WB, right? WB Games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
WB.
so it's not one of those games. It won't. I don't think it'll come out on Game Pass. A game like the Black Wukong or the Monkey King game that's a small studio that's developed by like a select few
That
developers.
game looks very good. We talked about that a while ago, didn't we? Removable. That
Oh yeah,
game.
Yeah.
Amazing. If it ever
something
comes
like
out,
that would come
hopefully
out
it
on
does.
Game Pass for recognition. Because of smaller studios, and if the game executes it well, then you won't see it on Game Pass anymore. For the next development.
Yeah.
But Game
Well,
Pass
if
is
it
a good
did,
entry.
You'd
sorry?
need to. If it did, Xbox would really need to be piling the money on, saying this is how much we're going to pay you to put it on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they'll have to come out and I know Game Pass is earning them a lot of money, but I don't think it's WB money.
No, that's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
I presume you've got no concerns about J.K. Rowling. You don't have to have any.
I don't even know because I'm not a fan, so I don't keep up with the whole Harry Potter thing.
No,
but I've seen
enough.
them. Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen because my wife watches them, and then it's one of those things where I'm like, oh the fuck, here we go, Harry Potter, and then next thing you know, she's sleeping, I'm still watching it, and I'm like, dude, I can't believe I got sucked into this.
Yeah,
so that's just how it is.
It is. So fair enough, Moan. And Luke, I know he's been looking to talk about this topic because I've been DMing a little bit, and it's been a bit of conversation in the old Green Pass Gaming Discord as well. So Luke, is it all off your mind? Go on.
I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I mean, I watched the state of play. And I actually think it looks really good. And I was quite surprised actually how in depth it looks. It's essentially a proper single player RPG. In the Hogwarts universe, if we want to call it that. And I thought it was really impressive visually, which was quite surprising, considering it's from a developer that they're not. Or they've not put out, I don't think, big AAA games before, but it looks like it's had a significant funding, which again is no surprise because it's an IP that is massive, and I'm sure the game will do exceptionally well, provided it's decent. To be honest, even if it's not very good, it will probably do well, just on the basis of being a Harry Potter game or a game linked to Harry Potter. Like for me, I was a massive Harry Potter fan, so I got all the books back in the day. I remember eagerly waiting for them to actually release and get them delivered. So I have a kind of storied history with it. In recent years, I don't have the lasting love for that IP that I do, other things. But it's still something that I can enjoy, and I could certainly enjoy the game. However, as I said to you, and as I've said to other people, I'm personally not comfortable right now with buying the game because I just the difficulty I think with any of this is whether, irrespective of how you feel about J.K. Rowling, if you're not comfortable with her in general, and for some people might not care about this, right? They may hate J.K. Rowling and everything that she says, but they're just like, well, I'm going to get the game. And that's fine. Like, if that's your approach, absolutely fine. For me, I'm not like that. So it's difficult for me because I don't know if I knew J.K. Rowling wasn't profiting from the game in any way, i.e., and as I said to you, Stubbs, if the way she makes the money on this game is she's just sold the license to WB for this game, she got a chunk of cash and it doesn't matter what any sales do, then I'd go out and buy the game brand new, because if it's a good game, then I want to go and enjoy that and I want to support the developer. Because it's not the developer's fault that they have J.K. Rowling attached to their game, right? That's not their fault. if she profits from my sale, then there's no way for me that I'm gonna go out and
how would you
and do it.
actually find that out?
Well, that's the problem. You're not going to that's the issue. Like, you're just not that contractual stuff is all private, so you're never going to do that. So,
sorry, Luke. I would say that the developers' percentage and the publishers' percentage in terms of profit are quite significant compared to the marginal amount that J.K. Rowling may receive in terms of royalty. It will be single digits at best in terms of dollars.
But yeah, entirely possible. She may. I mean, but that would still be uncomfortable for me. Just knowing that my
should be like, I'm going to buy this new Lambo. Luke Steele bought it.
I contributed slightly to it.
Can I just ask, what's the issue surrounding JK? Because I feel like I'm not in the
I was getting ready to ask
That's
that
a very
question.
powerful topic.
Yeah, that's a difficult topic.
Summary, please.
It's a difficult topic that I don't think it's probably not the most appropriate one for this type of podcast. But essentially, J.K. Rowling has views on transgender people that are, to me, quite abhorrent. So, and that's it, basically. I'd suggest there are some really good articles out there, actually, that will summarize the kind of timeline of what she said and the things she said and the context in which she said them. So I'd suggest going and have a look at those. And I don't want to fill up the podcast with that sort of stuff, because it's not for that. But
that are more interesting than listening to stuff about bullshit.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really, it's difficult, and I'll see kind of how I feel at the time and how the game performs, and in terms of if it's being critically well received, etc. For the moment, I think the safest course, for anybody who's worried about that stuff, is to probably just pick it up secondhand.
I will say though, for a title or a franchise like Harry Potter. See, I don't even watch that. I can't even say the name. A franchise like Harry Potter. It reminds me of Star Wars, right? Star Wars is a huge franchise, and there will always be these loyalists. Nothing wrong with it. If that's what they like, that's what they like. Everybody has their own opinion to their judgment, right? For something that huge, and from all the support it get in the events and all the sponsorships and whatever else that she may get, I'm pretty sure she's going to accept some sort of. You don't just sell something that this will be this Harry Potter will be out long after we're dead, and it's going to be new content. It will never go away. If they never made a movie, which basically they haven't made a Harry Potter movie, but they made the what do you call it, the Fantastic Beasts movies. But Harry Potter's not in it. It's just gonna, anything you snatch a Harry Potter name on it is gonna do it. Hogwarts, whatever you want to call it, Dumbledore, whatever it is. And she's gonna get paid royalty. So whether it is public or it's not public, something like that's huge. I don't think it's as big as Star Wars, but it may be as big as Star Wars because they have Star Wars have books too. So yeah, they kind of just remind me of each other, of the staple they have on this earth. And anything named that, I'm pretty sure she's going to get royalty, even after she gets rid of it. What's that?
Now, on the other foot, we have the hate for J.K. Rowling, but obviously Star Wars and Disney, and they've had walkouts recently because they don't support. What's the community called? I don't know what there's a certain segment of people, part of community, they don't support their rights. Disney don't. No. Oh, I'm going to leave it until I know. I'm just trying to have to look it up. But
it's going to bother you until after the podcast, and you're going. As soon as the show's over, you're going to be like,
the communities where you have trans, gay, etc.
Yeah, you mean LGBTQ? Yeah.
They don't support their rights, etc. I've had walkouts at Disney. So do them same people not watch Disney films because of them reasons? That's what I mean. But that's getting really deep. That is.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has a different approach to this stuff. It's much the same as musicians that have made lots of popular music and have committed or have been accused of committing bad crimes. And it's as an individual, I think you just make that choice as to whether you can divorce yourself from the art, the art from the artist, so to speak. And it's much the same here, right? I think the difference here is just that J.K. Rowling's around and still doing stuff. So
it's just more public and apparent, right, in terms of the visibility of it, right? Versus you're ignorant to perhaps what is going on behind the scenes with nearly everything that's in your house and the background of those people. And if you were to know the deepest and darkest secrets, you'd probably be boycotting everybody left, right, and centre.
Well, just look at Chinese products, for instance, and the girls. No one seems to be doing the same thing for that, is it? It's everyone. It depends. It's a personal thing, isn't it? It's an individual aspect of where you wish to draw the line, and that is up to everyone's individuality. As Luke says, it's a personal choice. It's up to you how you wish to
approach it,
resolve that. Approach it and resolve it to yourself, sort of thing.
Think about all the people that we all watch and do things for and support that we don't know how they are, so until they get caught by paparazzi or they say something on camera and it goes public, and then you're like, man, come on, like I love Final Fantasy VII series, and if I found out something bad, it would break my heart, but I will probably still play them because I've grew up to those games. So it's everybody's choice, right?
Exactly. That's how it works. It's like Luke's judging it how he judges it, and everyone else judges it a different way. Whatever you're happy with, it is.
That went very quiet, very quickly. Come on.
Oh yeah,
it did,
so it escalated and calmed down in an instant.
So VJ, what are your thoughts on? Have you seen the Hogwarts Legacy video? Have you managed to watch it?
Yeah.
What did you think? Because I do know. Do you like Harry Potter?
I don't mind the books. The books are okay. I can see the effort that's gone in them and so on and so forth. But this was like 20 years ago, right? Or whenever it came out. And look, I'll just talk about the game, right? So I don't know anything about JK, and I don't know too much else about this, that, and the other. So I mean, I think like Luke and Moan, they sort of, I'm kind of in the same sort of boat as them. We saw a lot, but we saw very little. But I gleaned a good overall sort of perspective or premise of what they're trying to do. And but I did come away with lots of mixed impressions because I did watch it, and I know it's on YouTube, etc. And I can't remember if there was a disclaimer that this is work in progress and so on and so forth. So I want to
they did say that. Yes, they did say that.
But I kind of came away with some sort of mixed concerns or reservations, which I hope are sort of duly done away with as we get to know more about the game. But I just don't want any of my sort of misconceptions to gain any more ground, right, based on what I see going forward. And as we always say, you don't really know until you experience it more. And like Moan, right, or what you suggested to him, right, is that you kind of hope that maybe the game will do well, maybe it won't, then it will come to Game Pass, right, like Guardians of the Galaxy, MLB Baseball, Outriders, the Medium, all that stuff, right. And then but in general, I think the game's presentation, I think we've all watched it, right, it seemed to sort of ebb and flow in terms of quality and engagement. It didn't really sustain or sort of sorry, did you want to say something, Mr. Stubbs?
No, I didn't say anything. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought someone.
I'll turn my mic off. Maybe I'm too close to the microphone. Sorry.
Yeah, stop blowing kisses at me. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Just chuck a bacon sarnie my way. That'll do. So it didn't. So because of that, because it was kind of ebb and flowing in terms of its engagement, it didn't sustain or sort of completely ignite a heightened sensation or a deep desire to play the game, right? Or go out and get it, and like Luke says, pre-order it and whatnot, right? Regardless of JK, but just look at the game as a sort of as a closed off thing, so to speak. So. Look, on one of the things I did really appreciate the fact that, and I hope they stay true to this, is that it's not going to include any microtransactions. I hope I've got that right.
That's correct.
So they're not going to be mining consumers, right? For
Nope.
for every nickel and dime or dollars or pounds or pfennig or whatever it is that you want to call it. But where I think I had issues, and again, they may be unfounded, and each to their own. But I kind of, when I observed, like, I'll just put it really in broad strokes: art direction, the animations, the seemingly repetitive combat, the visual effects, the NPC models, the character creation, and the lack of co-op. Which is, I can let that go because I'm like Moan. I like character progression games, and I love the Final Fantasy series and so on and so forth. And I just found it a little jarring, and that's just to name a few. And the game looks great, right, in terms of what the Unreal can do, right, in terms of environments and so on and so forth. And we all know about the Unreal sort of art and tech facets. But again, when I was looking at certain aspects in terms, especially the visual effects, my mind was going back to PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 days in terms of quality. And I don't know, I like what I saw. It didn't spark my imagination or engage me to a really sort of heightened degree, as I was saying, and it might have just been because of the innovative steps that they're not taking, perhaps, right? That's supposed to, perhaps I was expecting too much. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Harry Potter. I'll read the books or whatever, and I haven't read all of them, and I'll watch the odd movie because somebody in the home wants to watch it, but I won't go out of my way to do so. But I think, as Luke was saying, the books did very well. The movies were just okay for me personally, and the EA games were par for the course, and what you expect from EA, right, when they're trying to release games in time in sync with the movie releases, right? But as Luke will tell you, right, they sold, well, as he's projecting, sorry, in terms of Hogwarts Legacy, those games sold incredibly well. I remember that they were in the charts in the top 10, months after release back in the day. And I kind of sometimes go back to watch the state of play just to see what sort of numbers they have, and I'll check God of War, Gran Turismo, and Horizon Zero Dawn, etc., etc. I don't have a PlayStation, but I just kind of keep an eye on what the engagement is, and I was surprised to see that they're only at around 5 million, but the comments were generally good, right, in terms of anticipation for a Hogwarts game. But I can't help feel consumers, from the general gauge of what I read when I read the comments, sort of, I'm kind of reading through those, that they want to experience it before delivering a verdict, which is absolutely sensible, right? I don't often say that, right, on this show, especially with the topics that Mr. Stubbs brings up. But anyway, as for me, I think I'm gonna be in the same boat as Luke and perhaps Moan, is that I'm gonna wait until I hear the wisdom of the crowd, before sort of diving into it or purchasing it. And Warner Brothers games do make it to Game Pass, as far as I can recall, right? I remember seeing Mortal Kombat and so on and so forth. So maybe it'll make an appearance there. But I mean, it'll definitely be off my Christmas list, because obviously, as Mr. Stubbs told me privately in the DMs, that Starfield's releasing early.
Starfield is going to be delayed because Paul's not on here, so I'm just going to say it's going to be delayed until 2022, 2023. You can all go and tell Paul now I said that. I won't say it next week.
You know what he's going to do? He's going to come on the show, Mr. Stubbs. He's going to say, yeah, Gears 6 has been cancelled and Starfield's coming out.
Gears 6 has never actually been confirmed by Xbox, actually. So,
any Gears-related Gears?
It's just Gears 5 remastered.
Oh, I don't need that.
So, anyway, that was my take
for
on
5
it.
years.
I think I've got everyone to speak now. So, yeah.
Did they hit a nerve?
Oh, that's good, VJ. Welcome to the Indie Gamer. Removable. What are your thoughts on Harry Potter? Are you a Harry Potter fan? Have you got all the books? Have you got all the films? Sit there and tape?
I'm a half and half person. I've watched some, I've watched others, I've read some. It's like, yeah, okay, it's a nice little thing to do. It looks like it's got for me, the character creation looked really good. I actually must have, I'm a character creator, sort of. I'll spend a good 2 hours trying to create my character. So from what I saw, it looked pretty intriguing. The thing I am slightly worried about, or I haven't seen, is the open world aspect. Now, some open worlds can be dungeons, Dead Space, than a dungeon. And if you understand what I mean by that, is like the open world is pretty devoid, and it's more just a path to get you to the next dungeon, where it's populated with NPCs, storylines, and those quests. And I'm hoping that's not the case, because open worlds or semi-open worlds, they are best populated and best if you find things along the way, sort of thing. So I'm a bit like from what everyone else is saying. I'm kind of, it looks good, but I'm hesitant until I see more. What I saw looked like a polished FMV. I know it's not, but it looked purposely built to get you intrigued, which it did. But I want to see a bit more. I want to learn a little bit more about the side quests. I want to learn a little bit more about the open world aspect of it. It is good that they've confirmed that there's no microtransactions or in-game purchases. I'll give them props for that.
Really disappointed. You had your cash waiting for their microtransactions.
Mate, I'm poor. Cash for me is like, it's just basically another thing to flash in front of my face and go, haha, you can't afford this. So yeah, no, it's what I've seen I like, but I'm waiting and holding off until I see more, to be honest with you, before moving forwards with any sort of purchase.
I think a game like this shouldn't be single player. I think it should.
Yeah,
be
well,
I was hoping.
Did they say that it was supposed to be like? I think I can't remember the actual game. It's like Quidditch. There was supposed to be like a multiplayer aspect to it with Quidditch, but that's been put aside. I can't remember where. I think someone mentioned it on Twitter or something like that. So I think there was going to be some sort of, maybe it'll be tagged in at a later date. I don't know. But so I agree with you. It looked like it would be very fun with a secondary player in it.
Yeah, if it had that, I will probably be all over it because it has a lot of things that I'm very interested in. I love, again, player progression games. I like how you can really build your character before you get out there. That was my biggest thing. And you can always go back and do it. So a lot of games that didn't really execute it like that, I'm going to be honest with you, was the newest Assassin's Creed. When I was playing that, it got repetitive and boring pretty quickly, just like most of the Assassin's Creed games. It had a lot of additions to it, but the player progression didn't keep me bounded to it, tied to it. I still have the game, and then I don't like a game to where if I don't play it for a while and when I get back on it, I don't remember how to play the game at all. It drives me crazy. So it's just a little too much into it. A game like Call of Duty, you could just pick it back up and shoot people if you haven't played it in a while.
That's true. It is. I wouldn't like to be removable where you're currently playing like Luke, like Elden Ring, and then you go back a month later and like, what the do I do? You'd forget everything, wouldn't you?
RPGs don't lend them well. Some do, some don't. I mean, Skyrim, I can go back in and pretty much probably pick up where I've left off.
Yeah, Skyrim is really easy to pick back up, and I haven't played it in years.
It kind of depends on the game. I think there are some that just like, for some reason, it just, I don't know, it fixates in your brain, and you're like, that's it. I know exactly where I am. And there's some that's like, I can go back to a single player game and go, what was the controls? So, I think it depends on the game, to be honest with you.
That's true. That is. So that was a good topic. It was a nice, fun one. So the next one, PlayStation Studios has acquired Haven Studios, that is headed up by Jade Raymond. Now, I have a statement here for her, but it's quite a mouthful. I don't know if you all want to hear it. I can read it if you want. Here we go. 1 year ago this month, we embarked on a journey to start Haven Studios with a small team and big ambitions. Our goal was to build a studio where we could make the kind of games we've always wanted to create and games we've longed to play. We've made an amazing progress in a short time, thanks to our talented and passionate team and their exceptional contributions. We have established a culture at Haven grounded in kindness, adaptability, and courage that unlocks creativity. And our first new IP for PlayStation is on track to deliver a triple A multiplayer experience with a vision to build Sesmanic, I probably said that wrong, an evolving world focused on freedom, thrill, and playfulness that will keep players entertained and engaged for years. Today, the Haven team begins a new phase of our journey as part of the PlayStation Studios family, working with Heyman, Connor Booth, and the team at PlayStation over the past year has been a career highlight. SIE is a supportive partner that truly understands the creative process and what it takes to make a blockbuster AAA game. They have empowered and encouraged us to bring our bold vision to life and make our dreams come true. And we could not be more thrilled about this opportunity to strengthen our partnership. As SIE's first party studios, we have the opportunity to collaborate with some of the world's most renowned development teams, including studios like Guerrilla, Naughty Dog, Media Molecule, Insomniac Games, and the creators of games that have inspired us as players and developers for years. We're excited to learn from these world-class studios, as well as exceptional central creative technology and marketing teams. Those expertise will enable us to deliver even better games. I'm nearly there. To our Haven team, a huge thank you. It's been one of the most rewarding years of my career. And to the players out there, we can't wait to share more. And we're just at the beginning of what is sure to be a wondrous adventure that will span generations. Jade Raymond, CEO and founder of Haven Studios. Sorry about that mouthful. They always give out these big statements. They could just make them short and sweet, couldn't they?
I know, and when you do read out statements like that, I think you should hand out
Probably
a
got
round of
bored.
biscuits and donuts, so we've got something to munch on.
I know,
while we
you
listen.
probably got bored. I think I said a couple of the names wrong there, but
Oh, you
So,
mean
what do you re-
Hogwarts instead of Haven?
yeah, I don't see where they've got expertise in I don't really see where they've got expertise in the multiplayer space apart from Bungie lending a hand, but they didn't mention them, did they? Do you know what I
No,
mean?
but they're part of the equation, aren't they?
That's true. That is story time with Daddy Stubbs. Indy said, "Yeah, there we go." Moan Dogg, what do you reckon to that then? Haven joining this PlayStation Studios to make a AAA multiplayer game.
Well, you can look at it in two ways, right? You look at it as, oh man, this is awesome. PlayStation has acquired a studio, or you could look at it as the battle of buying up all the studios from Xbox and PlayStation. I I'm all for the power moves.
Yeah.
But they say that when they buy these studios that they can still run under their own, they can still do this and just still do that. But they did buy them. They still have they have ownership over them now, and they can still demand something if they want to. Who's to say? There's always a change in jobs, right? Change in CEO, change in developer, changing this, changing that, and teams can change, and everybody's views are different when someone else comes in. Usually, when you make a change, the newest person wants to put their new ideas to so-called make it great. So when they buy up these studios this way, like this, it makes you feel like there's no competition, or the competitiveness is shrinking just a little bit when it comes to buying these games and getting a game. PlayStation has their own thing that they do and how they do things, and some things we all don't like, some things we do like. Xbox does the same thing. And it's going to get to the point where you're going to only choose between two. If they buy up all these studios, you're going to only choose between two consoles, two huge multi-billion-dollar tech companies, right? That's buying all these studios. And
yeah, we'll add a caveat in there that even with Sony, Tencent's number one and Sony's number two, and Microsoft would be three in that space. But you are right; it just does seem like they're being bought up. But you are right in what you said there, because I don't know. You probably don't know, but Luke Steele's actually an acquisitions and mergers lawyer. So company acquisitions and what studios can do after is kind of his forte.
Okay, but I mean, a few years down the line, who's to say that? All right, now all these games are strictly on PlayStation. I mean, you don't know. They change plans. They say this to get everybody all excited, and PlayStation folks are like, yeah, in your face, Xbox, and then Xbox in your face, PlayStation. So who knows? That's my biggest fear is when you buy these studios, they say that it's in the contract. They say they're not going to change anything. Things are still going to come out. But it's also pretty funny at the same time, because now when it comes out on multiple systems, now PlayStation has to pay Xbox. And it's vice versa. Oh, guess what? I get money from so you guys are all my babies. But that's the only issue I have with it. I just don't trust these huge corporations when they buy these studios to stick to the same what do you call it? I can't even put the word out. Their representation of what the studio was before and what it's going to be after, because big corporations like that have demands. But we'll see. We'll see. You never know. The Deathloop game, that was strictly PlayStation, wasn't it, when it first came out?
Now that's because because previous to the acquisition, PlayStation had already inked an exclusivity deal before Microsoft had acquired them. So they, as a legit business, you honor all contracts. That's why that happened. That is. So it will be coming to Xbox.
And
but they have to honor the deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So but I just as long as they don't change anything, you can hope and pray that it doesn't. But things usually change. You never know. You never. Elder Scrolls 20 may just be on Xbox. I mean, you never know.
I'll be honest. That's a game where, see, when they say legacy content, this is my personal view. No one's going to agree with me, but I think of new IP as new IP, like say Starfield. But what Elder Scrolls has been multi-plat. So a new Elder Scrolls, in my opinion, would be deemed as legacy content and should come to the PlayStation as well, in my view, because it's still a legacy IP. It might not be a legacy it's a new version of the game. That should also be multi-plat as well. That's my view on it. Depends how Microsoft at the time wants to view what they call legacy content, because that's just a new version of a legacy IP. It is. But sorry, I've drifted off in a completely different direction there. Sorry, Moan.
No, you're good. But as far as them buying up the studios, I think they're going tit for tat right now. And it also pushed PlayStation to try to come out with their own Game Pass. Their whole PlayStation collection is all right, but nothing will be as good as Game Pass unless there's a complete direct competitor that's doing the same thing. So that's all. To me, that's all I'm saying. Microsoft started it, buying up all the studios, and PlayStation had to respond. And I feel like they're focusing more on doing that than actually developing, staying in their lane. That's my thought on it.
Okay, fair enough. Welcome, Dreadpool. But yeah, good opinions there, Moan. Good to get your take on it. Luke, what do you reckon to PlayStation buying another little studio up to make some AAA? I hate the tags. Shouldn't we use that wording? To make a new online multiplayer game.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting one, more so than some of the others that PlayStation have done in the last year and a half or so. Because when you looked at stuff like Housemarque and Blue Point, etc., it was very much an established working relationship. They'd only really ever done PlayStation games for the most part, so it kind of made sense that Sony were just like, let's actually acquire these and build them up, have bigger budgets, bigger titles, etc. With this one, it's a studio that has never made a game, but in a way that's quite exciting, because whatever they are making, it must be very exciting for PlayStation to say, right, you know what, we need to put even more resources behind this effectively, and bring them in house and get their staffing up and all that sort of stuff. So and I think they probably look at it and go, well, it's been said countless times, and I think it's true that PlayStation don't have they're not a multiplayer centric brand, right? What they make is not multiplayer centric. Their expertise, their forte, if you will, is in single player games, which is great, which I love. But I do think that they could stand to make more multiplayer games because, one, it makes business sense, and two, they've got a lot of talented studios, so who could make really good multiplayer games. So I think buying Haven is exciting from that perspective because you know that they're making a multiplayer game. It's a new IP. It's clearly exciting enough that Sony went and opened their checkbooks to sign the whole studio, to buy the studio. They've got a very talented veteran leader in Jade Raymond. I think they've got about 60 people already in that studio, so it's not like a 15-20 person studio. They've built it up, and I think they'll just continue to do that. So I think it's interesting, and I'm more than anything, I'm just interested to see what they're making, because it must be good, or at least in whatever stage it's at now, it must be exciting for PlayStation to open the checkbook. And also it's really good for Jade Raymond as well, who I'm really pleased for, because she obviously had the issue with EA Motive, and then had an IP there that was cancelled. Then she went to Google after that, and obviously that didn't pan out either. So third time hopefully is the charm for her, and they get, I'm sure they will get this game out. If there's one thing Sony are very good at, it's making sure games come out. So yeah, I think it's quite exciting.
Well, yeah, I would agree. I mean, with it being Jade Raymond, my stab in the dark is it's not going to be a shooter. I don't see it being a shooting game, but you never know.
No, I think I do wonder if this, whatever the game is, it's based on a lot of the concepts that she was trying to make at EA Motive, because the game that she was making there was a social multiplayer title. It wasn't combat focused. It's more about collaboration. So I do wonder if it's something along those lines. And, it's that kind of original concept that she had at Motive. Obviously not the same thing, but, those kind of ideas are permeating maybe through this project. So, and if that is the case, that's really cool, because that's a different multiplayer experience, To me, in my head, the way I see her game is the way I feel like it will come out a bit like how Everwild will come out from Rare, because you look at a game like Everwild, which is no doubt going to be a multiplayer experience, and I know it's in kind of semi-development hell at the moment. I'm sure it'll be fine, but that looks, that's going to be a game that's not focused on shooting. It's focused on collaboration and that sort of stuff. That's the vibe I get from it, and that's the vibe I get from whatever Jade Raymond's game's going to be.
Yeah, it sounds promising. Have to wait and see what happens in the future. We will. So, RemovableSanity. What do you reckon to this little acquisition of Haven Studios?
I think any acquisitions is a good thing in terms of Sony. It's more to their repertoire. I actually hadn't heard much about Haven or the people who were involved in it, so I did a little bit of background. But I do, from what I can tell, was that they had the previous, I think the CEO, she did have a previous history of the Stadia in terms of their entertainment, or I think their gaming aspect. That didn't plan out well, and now listening to what Luke said, that she's had a bit of a rocky path previously through her history. I am a little bit cautious about what they can produce. They say AAA, but I'm going to be very cautious until we actually see something. It's all very well to say, we're going to produce something amazing, something great. Until we see something concrete, it is PR spin, in my opinion. That may be a little bit harsh, but it is that.
It is true. You are right.
And so, whilst an acquisition is good, and Sony aren't fools either. They're not fools.
I know
So
everyone acts like they are. They're not stupid. They've been in this business a long time, and that's why they
yeah,
are
so
the
they must
position
have
they're in.
they must have seen something they liked, or there must have been something that caught their eye to acquire this studio. And I said she had, if I remember correctly, looking back, I think that she has some history with Stadia. She has some a little bit of a rocky side, but besides that, there must be something for Sony to sink its teeth into. So, whilst I'm cautious with the PR spin, I'm optimistic at the same time. It's kind of probably a contradiction in a little bit. It's just I know Sony well enough to know that they're very wise about what they purchase, and through other previous purchases, they've fostered a good relationship and fostered a good creativity between them. So it's an intriguing one. I don't want to get too optimistic until I see something, but at the same time, I am slightly optimistic, if that can make sense.
Yeah, now I can understand why. PlayStation, obviously, they acquired Bungie, but in general, PlayStation, they've dropped the whole organic thing. People bang on about all the time. Sick of hearing people saying that. They buy small investments, make small but worthy, what they think's worthy purchase without having to spend billions about. You know what I mean? They make small purchases they think are going to benefit the business. It's a different way of doing it, but it is a good way of doing it because that game that they're making, for all we know, that could be a top in a few years' time. Might be one of the PlayStation's top games. Who knows? It could. It may not work, but certain games don't work. Not all PlayStation games over the years have worked. Not all of them have been hits, like you say. You chuck mud at the wall and see what works. You do. It's like when they mention their 10 live service games. Doesn't mean all 10 of them are going to be released. Some of them may never get out the gate, but some may work, some may fail and get shut down. I don't think they mean they're going to have 10 rolling all at once and they're all going to be great. I think they're just going to see what works, basically. They're doing their best to try it. They are. That's where the future's going, all these live service games. But I hope for money, recurring revenue streams, because PlayStation, before obviously they built their business on first-party exclusive content games, it's never really been a big part of their business live service. But they're watching Xbox. Everyone thinks PlayStation's stupid. PlayStation have probably been planning a lot of this stuff that they're working on now, live service games for years, like VJ's been talking about. A lot of these plans are years in advance, but you don't see them until the plans are nearly ready. They don't show their cards as such. But yeah, it's all interesting, Removable. It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. But VJ, what do you reckon to this?
You forgot about him,
Raymond?
did you?
No, I didn't.
He thought he got out of it.
Yeah, I don't blame him for getting me. Yeah. I don't think it's a surprise, especially when live service games from third parties generate so much revenue for Sony, and they've known that for 5, 6, 7 years, and they've needed their own first party live service titles for a considerable amount of time, as Luke was saying. So I think we've talked about it on this show, right? When Haven and what was the other one? Deviation
I remember
Games?
that. Yeah, I'm sure you said something like Phil Spencer should have snapped her up instead. I'm sure that's
and the reason why a lot of people went to Google, even Shannon Studstill, she went from Santa Monica to there, which was a surprise, is because right now Google and Microsoft are just offering they've artificially inflated the economy here in terms of people's salaries. It's insane. And that's probably the reason why Sony games have gone up to $70. So they were paying considerable. It's probably got something to do with it. If you've got 500 staff and you've got to pay them, XYZ more so to retain them because of Google and Microsoft just paying way over the odds for talent at the moment, and especially in the game development, you can understand why. So, and they can afford to do it, right? So, And I can understand, why they've gone and bought, especially a studio in Canada, right, with all the tax rebates. I can't remember somewhere. I'm sure I was reading something about Ubisoft and their tax rebates from the government or R&D rebates, etc., of a video game. It's up to 30%. It's insane. Maybe Luke might know more about that than me, but so there's obviously that angle to it as well. So, but again, I think as Moan Dogg was saying, given the aggressive nature of Xbox and Sony's historical preference to sort of graze a lot more before purchasing anyone, right? Because they were the only one in the field at the time, right? So I think Sony, as I say, usually, I don't know, can we say quite reserved?
Yeah.
They would have, I think this time around with studios, especially ones that they're investing huge amounts of money into, would have had a clause put into them and saying, listen, you know what, at specific junctures or within a specific window, because we're investing so much money, we want to have an option to purchase. And I can understand that, especially with, I don't know, is Destiny a live service game? I think it is, right?
Yes, Destiny.
Yep.
So live service games are not inexpensive to make, and nor are they inexpensive to operate. And I would suggest that it's partially on the basis that Sony took a barometer of, as Luke and Moan Dogg were saying, right, and what Removable was saying actually. And have I left anyone out? Because I'm just copying everyone's homework at the moment. And that they've took a barometer of what they have with Bungie and where Haven are at with this project, and how it's looking, and whether it's promising or not. And more importantly, are they happy with they're happy with the studio management? Are they comfortable with them? And especially because they're going to be the long-term servants, right, or stakeholders or shareholders or whatever of running the studio. And at the end of the day, I think as Luke said, right, who wouldn't want Jade Raymond to at the helm, right? And I think it's all very good business. And I think for Haven and Jade, it's a choice that they've have to make as well, right? It's not just Sony saying we want to buy you. There has to be a willing seller as well, and I think they've made the decision, like all companies do when they sell, is like, is it financially beneficial and rewarding now and in the future, and however that framework's been structured, and does it mitigate uncertainty and risk for any developer, because game development is risky. So then now Jade and her team, however big it is and however long it's been in development, I don't know, they can focus on making the game under a first party umbrella. And we all know, right, that with first party developing games for first party comes with many pluses in terms of sort of unequivocal and support and bleeding edge support and production perks, etc., right, and perhaps even larger budgets. And I'm assuming that live service games have a really long lifespan. Again, I'm really sorry because I don't play these games, right? And so, and if that's true, it makes sense for Sony to buy now, right? If they believe the game Haven is working on in itself may be a large hit for them, and then the purchase price in the future might look completely different, right? It might look more towards what they've ended up paying for Bungie, right? So they've got the cash to do it now, so I don't see it as a bad move, right? And I mentioned Bungie a few times as they were, and this is I'm sort of paraphrasing what the CTO said, right, at the last shareholders conference or whatever, that they bought Bungie for their live service know-how, right? And I'm paraphrasing this, so correct me if I'm wrong. And I assume a caveat would be that they're happy to help internal studios, but not a second-party game studio. Because that's what the caveat. Well, Sony probably know this anyway, right? Because obviously then they'd be exposed to trademark secrets, so to speak. So I think them being a first-party studio opens that up, right, for Sony to do. And I'm just this is all supposition on my side. I'm trying to think of why the deal makes sense. So and Bungie's, as I say, seem to be bought. In my opinion, because of these live service games. And I think you're absolutely right, Stubbs, in terms that you say this is not just let's go and buy a studio because of Microsoft. These are all plans within plans. There's a strategy to all of this. And Luke, correct me if I'm wrong. Removals throw tomatoes and wet cabbage at me if you think I'm wrong. So, but Bungie seems to be bought, for me now that I'm looking at it right now, is, the saying goes, what is it? Rising tides lifts all boats. And I think that's why Haven and Deviation Games and perhaps some of the others will by default benefit from Bungie, right? And because they'll be able to potentially help add more gears or levels to these new games, right? I hope I'm kind of
Yeah.
making sense here. What I'm trying to say.
You are, yeah.
So Bungie perhaps for me are at the epicenter of this massive 10 game live service agenda, right? They're at the epicenter of it. And actually they're not at the epicenter. They are the epicenter of what Sony are trying to build and develop. And but I think whatever the case, with as Luke was saying, Jade Raymond at the helm, it could end up being a very, very shrewd move, and only time will tell.
I think that with all these studios being bought up by let's just say the big two, I think it's going to open up a new era for the small studios to really shine and state a name for themselves. I think when Xbox started doing this, I think they needed that. They had Game Pass, but they always had Game Pass even when they lost a lot of their consumer base. I mean, the 360 was probably the worst of it with Rings of Death. That was one of the things that turned me off because I went through like 3 Xboxes. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to Xbox. And I loved Xbox. So, and then after that, they did the whole entertainment thing with the Xbox One. And at the same time of the entertainment is when streaming was coming along. So they made this hardware evolve around your internet service provider. And then the Kinect came on, and it went from 360 to that, and then that to what we have now, and they lost a lot of their consumer base. The sales wasn't as high as Sony's for a long time, and Game Pass was the beginning of their new. What's up, Max?
Max is here. Welcome.
Yeah,
how you doing?
And Game Pass was in the beginning stages of when the Series X the Xbox One system hardware. And then they developed on that, and it gave them an opportunity and a chance, and it gave them the money and the resources. Now we have the Series X, the Series X and S, which I think is a good placement for both, for them to be able to, because now they're outselling PlayStation because of the availability with the Series S. Am I saying it right? Yes, Series S. I get it confused with the X and the S.
I think there's still more PS5s out there, though.
You think so? Well, yeah,
yes,
the way they're buying them up. But luckily, I believe the government passed a law where they can't use the bots anymore, so it should be a little bit more accessible.
Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you, Max. There's always ways around that. They're not going to. A law's going to do absolutely nothing.
You got to find them first.
Exactly.
So, but I think Xbox needed this, and I'm glad Max is in here. When the new consoles came out in 2020, Max and I just knew that PlayStation was going to they're going to do what they always do every beginning of their system hardware and game release. And we also said that in 2021 is going to be the year of Xbox, and they performed as they should. I know Halo was a big letdown, but then now you have to sustain that. And they've been doing that by buying the studios. And because of the money that they have from Game Pass, because the new system is doing what it's supposed to do, and hopefully there's no Ring of Deaths in the future. What I've already repeated, and the studios, now it's like they have a placement now. Now they just have to lean on that until they can kind of match up the volume that has always been doing. And they also need a little bit more exclusives. I'm still waiting on the Avowed. I want to see what that's about.
I'm with you on that one.
But that's just my opinion on it. I think they're placing themselves in a good spot. They need to do something. Right now, they're both in this hiding phase where there's not really much. Hogwarts is pretty good, but I was listening to IGN, and they were expressing how right now we're in that dark phase where games are everything's kind of quiet until you get that next big thing. And one of the guys got to do it. And I think Xbox should do it first if they want to continue the volume that they're at.
Yeah,
I think everyone's prepping for E3, right? Or GDC. I don't know what happens.
Yeah, but E3 is not what it used to be anymore. It's not.
No, I don't mean in terms of the E3, the physical show, but in terms of physical or digital representation of what they're working on in preparation for Q3, Q4 sales, as well as selling hardware and their subscription service based on future promise, right? So that's normally those events occur around the E3 time, and I shouldn't really use E3. I should just say June, summer 2022.
Yeah, I mean to be fair to PlayStation as well, they have just had Horizon and GT7 release. I know obviously there's controversy about GT7, but still well received. Apart from the microtransaction stuff, and Ghostwire Tokyo as well. So they've had a really good start to the year. Xbox not so much, but then again they launched at the back end of last year with two of their biggest games. So invariably, they're building towards kind of getting on a more even game release slate. And they've got Starfield coming, Redfall, really big games. Sony have God of War coming, but we are in that kind of, I guess now, from now until, I don't know, maybe May-ish, we're in kind of that lull period that you get of sporadic releases and not big, super big stuff. Apart from Kirby, of course. Shout out Kirby, which is coming out, just launching. So yeah, so I think they're both no doubt. I think Microsoft will probably have some sort of show over the summer, whether that's E3 or something by themselves. I don't know if Sony will. I think they probably see kind of September-ish as their period now. I think they quite like to do that kind of big show around then. But we'll see.
Does Xbox still have their game showcase? Because I remember from last year, I think they did like 2 of them or so.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll definitely have something in the next couple of months. Probably June. They seem to really like the E3 period, even if there is no E3 happening. I think they like that June slot.
Yeah, obviously everyone loves E3, but I generally think that the era of E3 and that's
coming. Oh yeah, E3's dead. It's just dead.
I mean, like little shows that PlayStation do and Xbox online. It's all you need now. I know people want to go to E3 and hold experience. But I just think it would be a load of shows and not E3 no more. But
yeah, I think it will. There's there's no. I think if anything, the pandemic in terms of E3 has shown that it's just not necessary at all for platform holders, publishers, developers. It's much easier, much cheaper, much more effective to just do a digital showcase on your own time through the normal channels, and you will, you're not competing with people on the same week or the same day even. And I'll miss E3 because I think E3 for, all gamers holds a lot of treasured kind of memory stuff. Where you had the June week and everybody's there and everybody's having a showcase and there are, memorable conferences, etc. But it's just not really viable anymore. It just doesn't make any sense. The original intention of E3 is long since dissipated, and now you're in a completely digital period, so you don't need to have E3 attached to your name when you're doing a showcase. So, yeah, I agree with that.
A lot of people don't agree because they all want to still go and meet up and that. But I just think that the longer it goes on, the more it's going to die.
I've got to be honest with you. A lot of people say that they want to have the physical event, and most of them haven't attended because my recollection is that a lot of the time those shows were very difficult to attend because it's primarily for the trade. I think in the latter stages. So even as a consumer, you couldn't attend. So I think I may be wrong there, but for definitely either that or for a couple of days you could. But yeah, primarily for me, whenever I used to go, it was always. It's only up the road from me, but at the Staples Center. But it was primarily trade. And if you could get in as a consumer, the queues to actually try anything were just horrendous.
Yeah,
so I can agree.
It's not exactly as great as it's made out to be. And in past years, I think it was really important because those days, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft, they relied on bricks and mortar, right, to put their and public public facings, right, to sell their product. Where it's changed now. It's about digitally being aware of your content or aware of content through YouTube, etc. And as Luke was saying, through digital events, and because most of the content is pre-sold digitally now compared to bricks and mortar. I remember we were having a conversation when then there was when the deal was announced between Xbox and GameStop, and I said to Tom, I just don't think it'll have any major impact. And I do go to GameStop still to pick up a few secondhand games. No doubt removable sticker flag up.
Oh no, I got out of the GameStop phase.
And
I have no use for them.
Yeah, no, but I go in there sometimes to trade in some games or get rid of stuff I don't really want anymore. But again, none of the GameStops that I go to, actually 2 of them have closed down nearby where I live, but that deal was supposed to, help Microsoft sell a lot more hardware, a lot more subscription services. But I can tell you in the year or so since that was announced, the different GameStops I've visited, it's business as usual. There is no, in-store special manager, promoting Xbox and selling you Xbox or prime locations for Xbox at the front of the store or anything like that whatsoever. So, and again, I think it just speaks to the demise of physical media being sold here in America, at least. I don't know what it's like with Game in the UK or
well, in the UK, like basically when Game Pass was announced, when Game Pass was announced, I'm not talking about Game, but all the other independent shops that sold games basically just stopped selling Xbox games. They had sold a lot of the shops sold all discs and didn't bother again. They said there's no point if the Game Pass is available, but games still do sell all the games like normal. I don't go in one very often. I don't know about you, Luke, or Removable, whether you go into Game very often. I don't know.
It used to be a thing, but unfortunately I started to kind of get out of the game because Game used to compete really well with Amazon, but unfortunately they kind of, for some reason, started upping their prices. So I found that generally what they've done now is they're normally about £5 to £10 more expensive, and then if you join their club, they kind of reduce that price by about £5 or £10, which kind of then puts you on par with the average consumer price. So I was like, well, what's the point of me buying from them when I can just buy it from Amazon at a cheaper price 9 times out of 10? So I don't know if it was just a few bad business situations, but yeah, they've become, to be honest, they've become less about games now, more about accessories. You see their stores,
old mobile phones, any kind of device that they can rip you off for, you get note for it and sell it on.
And
it's like they lack creativity. That's my thing.
I'm not sure where Moan is in the States, but here the other benefit of buying digitally as well, especially via Xbox, there's no sales tax, so no VAT equivalent, right? So I don't know how the VAT works on video games. But I mean, Paul obviously is in Texas; he pays tax. So, but you go to GameStop and you're paying another $5 or $6 on top of the purchase price for sales tax for purchasing it physically.
That would confuse me. That was because in Britain you get to the till. And you know what you're paying. In America, it's like X amount of dollars, and then they add it on top. I was like, that would confuse me, but it's a way of life over there.
Oh yeah, it sucks. I think GameStop lacks creativity. The accessories are pretty good, but they're not one of those things where it's kind of like the Louis Vuitton of accessories. Like I wouldn't brag about, oh man, I got this from GameStop. I will say they do have more of those trophy pieces, like those detailed claymation, like those Batman figurine things that's fixed to the statue. That's what I'm trying to say. Look, these statue form thing has a lot of detail. One time I walked in there and they actually had a full Power Ranger helmet. And I was pretty hyped, but it's not like one of those things where you have the fake lightsabers from, well, I shouldn't say they're fake. You have those light quality lightsabers from Target, then you go buy the other ones from the other source and pay like $300-400, and it performs like one. You just have this plastic piece on it. You know, that's where GameStop is. It's kind of like the beginning level of collection, but it's not the same level as when you want to go and purchase a high profile Gundam wing somewhere. If you get one of them, you wouldn't see that in GameStop. So I just feel like they need to lean more. They have their GameStop really rubbed me wrong when they do have a retro section. And when I ordered Shenmue from Dreamcast, I was
great
actually able to
console.
find one for a decent price. It was like $20. Of anywhere else online, it was like 50, 60, 70, $100. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna get this from GameStop. Number one, it came in the little GameStop sleeves, right? And all the games were cracked in half. The CDs. I was pissed.
No.
And I'm like, come on. But we do have the mom and pop retro stores that are amazing. They have everything, but you pay, a little bit more for it. But I got a store, they're very reasonable. And I can get those things, but GameStop has them cheaper. And now I found out why. And I took it back. And then when I took it back, they didn't have another one. So now I got to go to eBay and spend, $100 for something that was only $30. So that's when I was done with GameStop. When I do trade-ins, I'll do it at Best Buy. And then you don't even really get your money back for the games. It doesn't really keep their value like that. Not as good as gaming laptops does. So, and we also have a disc replay. I don't know if you guys have that where you're at. You guys have that franchise out there?
No,
No.
nothing on this side. No.
Yeah, if you guys come to the States or if you ever come to Michigan and we get a chance to meet up, I'll take you there. They're like a huge franchise of retro stuff, and you find a lot of gems in there, but you also pay top dollar for it as well at the same time. And you'll be surprised. They actually had a Tales of Destiny in there for like $1,500, but it had the case, it had the disc, and it was for PlayStation 1. And I'm like, oh, and I used to have the game. And I'm like, oh man, let me see how much this is. And I looked at it, I'm like, oh, we're good.
Whoops.
I'm good.
Yep. Bye.
But that's what Disc Replay has to offer. And then the store I go to, which mom and pop store, for some odd reason, they get things better than these massive franchises because he has Japanese imports. Disc Replay doesn't have that, and you can get all these Japanese imports. You can even get the device that converts your system, your old systems, into it. I don't know if you guys remember or where the age gap where we are, but do you remember playing Dragon Ball GT on PlayStation 1 and you need the adapter on the back of the PlayStation just to play it?
That's going back some time.
Yeah, you'll find that at the mom and pop store. So didn't mean to take all your time of doing that, but just this is where I'm at with GameStop, and this is why I don't go. And what's funny is I'm talking all this crap about them, but I do have the pro membership, and I don't ever use it. I let my buddies use it because he likes to go there, and I get all the points, and I'll get like $20 off because I have so many points when it comes to it. And then I'll buy something digitally, but I don't ever really use it.
Fair enough. That's a nice little story. That is. Welcome to Mr. Almost Perfect. He also remembers I Love Disc Replay. I remember that he was saying.
Yeah. Mr. Almost Perfect is actually the other host of our Any and Everything podcast, so he's coming to check you guys out. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep, that's
welcome.
Ralph.
Ralph, now no. I know you are now, Ralph. I watch your podcast every Sunday. And if I don't, I catch up with it.
I call him the bald one. His head is like a trophy piece.
Have you got any more time, Moan, or you got a chip off? Or,
yeah, I do gotta chip off. Gotta take care of a couple things, but I do truly appreciate you guys allowing me to be on the show.
Where they can find you about all your podcast and everything.
Yeah. So we have a podcast. We actually have a series coming out. It's going to be the first episode of the series. We're going to do it in parts, and it's me and all of our friends. And it's going to. You thought some of the other things that we say is crazy and do are crazy. It's going to be pretty bad. And
What,
it's
the
probably
Bang Bang House?
So the Bang Bang house is the house on cruise we always talk about. You know,
I heard that last
and-
show. I was like, oh, the Bang Bang house. That sounds interesting.
And you know what's funny? I saw your comment, but I forgot to reply to it. And I knew that next time I talk to you, you'll probably bring it up. But yeah, that used to be the house of fun, and we used to throw parties there and all this stuff. And but check us out this Sunday. It's Sunday 3 p.m. every single Sunday, and it's Eastern Standard Time. So whatever time the time difference between you guys, I would love to have you all there. At least one episode. If you don't make it, watch it later. Yeah, like it, subscribe and kind of share me out there. I'm looking to get out there even more. And we got a lot of ideas coming for the podcast. So, and then where this internet site is here, that's our webpage. So anything you want to know about me, Ralph, or Zoe, we're all on there. And we have our personal profiles, and you can go to our things on there. We always promote Stubbs at the end of the podcast, every single episode. And we have a friends section for a lot of content and services where you guys can, if you're interested in other things, we have that on there too. And we're going to add, we've been doing some talks. We got a merch store coming, and we're going to also add possibly a game section, because that's where we're all gamers. That's what we're interested in. And I was also thinking about adding the fellas section where you get to know all of our friends if we want to do this series, if the series stick, So, but yeah, check us out. Again, if you want to know more about me, go to this link here, and you can go to me specifically, and then all my content and links will be there. Everything that you want to know about me. And yeah, and I'll post a link in the chat as well. So, but I truly appreciate you guys allowing me to come on.
Thanks
no, much appreciated. Yeah, have a nice one. Yeah, it's great having you on.
Yeah. So I'm trying to post the link now. Oh, all right, there it is. So instead of typing it and trying to figure it out here, you can click on the link I just put in the chat. So I appreciate you guys. Love being on the show. Love having you. You're doing your thing, Stubbs, RemovableSanity, VJ, Luke. You guys are all doing your thing, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, and I'll see you in chat on Sunday.
Yes, sir. I'll see you guys.
See you later.
Have a good one, sir.
Yeah.
And there was 4 Musketeers. There was. So this one's a bit interesting, this next topic, because I don't know, when I used to have a PS4, I was a big Destiny 1 fan. And this is by Bungie, this topic's about. Now, there's one developer out there in the space for content creators that's always been fair with their creators, and people want to produce content for them. It's Bungie. They don't do DMCA takedowns. They don't strike against their creators. They don't do anything like that. You can pretty much do whatever you like with their content. It's not really, as long as you're not trying to sell their content, they're fine. So what's been happening recently is very strange. Bungie made a tweet. We are aware of a series of copyright takedowns on YouTube, and we are actively investigating it. But this also includes dcma takedowns of Bungie's own channels, of their own content that they own. I even hit the biggest YouTuber. He's a British YouTuber called My Name is Bife. He does. Most people have usually heard of him. He's a lore master. He's got videos explaining all the lore from Destiny 1 to now, everything. He's been hit with it, and a few others have. And by the sounds of it, Bungie ain't saying a lot on who's doing it, but it wasn't them that did it, or any of their associated partners either. It just seems this is me with my conspiracy hat on, just seems funny that they've been acquired by Sony. Now they've been hit with DMCA takedown notices. Just seems, I'm not putting the blame at them. That's probably why I said it, Indy. Okay, I'll say it differently. My name is Bife. Law. Oh, law. Sorry. Law. It sounds the same whether I say law or law. There we go. Law. Is that better, Indy? Law. He's the law master. Is that better? So everyone knows what I meant, I think. But yeah, by the looks of it, Bungie ain't saying publicly who's been doing the DCM, the takedown orders. And it's very strange because Bungie have always been a pro content creator. Any kind of content, they love people to say it.
Was it you, Stubbs? Was
No,
you
it
was you
wasn't.
doing
I
it?
mean, it's a strange topic because out of all the developers out there and publishers and etc., Bungie are the best with their community, and it's very strange. It really is. Luke, have you got any thoughts on this? Have you seen this one? Because it's a bit of a strange one. They're very pro content creator. Bungie are just come out of the blue. This has. It's very weird.
Yeah, I saw it the other day. Obviously, it's not something that I knew about generally because I don't play, I don't follow Destiny YouTube content creators, etc. But I did read about it. There was a good article on Forbes, I think, by Paul Tassi. It's really strange, and no one really knows what's going on or who's doing it. I think Paul Tassi said Forbes said that they thought it might just be some weird third party that is getting around a technical loophole and wielding.
There is companies that do that kind of crap.
Yeah, like wielding a weird amount of power in respect of Bungie, effectively. Yeah. So I don't know why that would be, like whether it's just for like almost a troll, or it's for some other nefarious reason. But it is really strange. It's good of Bungie that they've come out and actually been like, it's not us, and it's not being taken, it's not being done at the behest of us. Or any of our partners, so that's cool. Exactly. And obviously it's something they needed to do because it, as you say, it did look weird considering how blasé they are about this stuff anyway. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know quite who it is. I don't know. Sony's will be no influence because they don't technically own Bungie yet anyway.
That's true, yeah.
It's certainly not them, and it's not Bungie. So I suspect it's just a troll.
It is a big. Obviously, not everyone on here is a YouTuber, but when you get a bit bigger, there is troll companies that go after your content, trying to get your money and stuff. So,
yes, yeah. So I think it's probably someone like that, and hopefully they can nip it in the bud quite quickly. Because obviously, I did see that some of the YouTubers who'd had a couple of claims against videos, so 2, for example, recently, as in within the last few days, those have been taken off, and they publicly said, we've got no strikes against our accounts now. So something is happening. I suspect that once Bungie got wind of it and then looked into it, they've very quickly been able to ascertain what's going on and who's doing it, and give them a bit of a kick up the arse and said stop doing that. So yeah, hopefully it just goes away now because it's just weird and it's just disruptive to people who are just making videos on a series that they love and are not really causing any harm. It's causing unnecessary stress to those people. So yeah, it's very strange. Very strange.
No, yeah, I agree with you. It is. I don't know if it's an area you've got any expertise in, VJ. It's a bit of a strange one.
Not really. I think Luke's covered it off. I actually found it quite boring, to be quite honest with you. But I fell asleep.
I just thought it'd be interesting
with my bacon sandwich.
Because Bungie are the pro content creator company out of every developer out there. They are the best with their car. I just thought it was a strange one. It was for such a pro community of they support their content creators, etc. They've never had any issues. As long as you're not trying to sell their content, resell it, etc., they're fine with you. It's on YouTube and podcasting, etc. They've got no issues. They haven't. But yeah, Removable, got any thoughts? You probably haven't, but I thought I'd ask you.
No, thank you very much. No, I think generally this is going to be, as Luke said, it's most likely to be a individual. I wouldn't say probably a company. It's more likely to be an individual, to be honest with you, that this is worked out a get around for this element. It has happened. I have heard of scrupulous YouTubers doing something similar where they try to basically take out other channels. So it doesn't surprise me. Yeah, again, just picking up on Bungie, I've got a gut feeling it could be either someone disgruntled, or again, they're just trying to see if they can hit the big boys. And what's bigger than, what's more PR? What's good for PR than, say, a big developer such as Bungie, sort of thing. So, in a crux of me, I've got a kind of gut feeling there are particular people of the community who are part of the dark web who do things or have to do things to prove themselves. And I've got a slight, sleek speaking suspicion that maybe this is something along the lines of that. It's like take out a very large developer with a hack in some format. Or as I said, it could just simply be the fact that someone's found a workaround and thought, you know what, I'm going to have fun with this. What can get me recognized? I wouldn't be surprised when they say they don't know who it is.
Like, they do know who it is. It's just they don't want to come out and say it. Maybe
if they do know who it is, that would suggest to me a disgruntled employee.
I would say, though, when you have a DMCA takedown order, you'd have to provide the company or said person who's doing it, wouldn't they? Bungie are just keeping quiet on who it is.
Well, yes, you do. The trouble is you can... it's not always checked. So I have heard of people doing such things and send it to a PO box that exists, but nothing goes anywhere near it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so there are kind of workarounds about it. The question really probably isn't the fact who's doing it, it's why potentially YouTube is allowing it. If anything, this shows a huge fundamental flaw in YouTube, which a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers have regularly complained about DMCA strikes. It is a consistent battle on certain areas of YouTube. So, if anything, it could be we could be looking at it as, oh, it's here to troll Bungie. It could actually be here to troll YouTube. I mean, what's more embarrassing to YouTube than using their own DMCA system that's supposed to protect individuals, especially the bigger creators, than a big creator getting taken.
DMCA is a federal government thing. It's a law. It's not something YouTube created. It's something they have to abide by. If they could chuck it in the bin now, they would.
Yes, but what we're saying is the system of how it is built or utilized isn't very robust.
No, good. You're right. It could be a hack. It could be a bug in the system, and they think, right, we're exploiting this.
And it's also people. I think a lot of YouTube creators have been moaning about the fact that anyone can potentially just say, "Well, I own that now," with little to no recourse, because unless of course you're a big YouTuber, you don't always have. This is normally a thing for the little YouTubers. You don't have a way to get in contact with YouTube. If you're a big YouTuber, you generally have a PR person or an individual person inside the company. Yes,
you have to be very big, and I'm talking to that level. You need at least 500,000 to potentially a million. You get a rep at about 100,000, but it's not the kind of guy you can ring up and say, "Hello, I've got a problem."
Exactly. So,
you know what I mean?
If for me, I've got two ways to think. It's either someone's targeting Bungie directly, but I'm leaning for either trolling or for a prominence of PR later on, or it's simply to do with the fact they're showing the exploit of YouTube after, numerous creators saying, "Look, this is a broken system. Please fix it." And maybe this is one of the ways someone's decided, you know what, if they're not going to fix it, I'm just going to make YouTube look bad by taking out one of their biggest publishers, one of these big developers, because it does look bad on YouTube. I mean,
it does. Looks bad on Bungie, really, when their content's getting takedown orders for it.
Does YouTube actually even care?
this is the tough thing. I think they do, but unfortunately, they don't have a lot of the staff or a lot of their systems are automated. And
Yeah, they are, because
so
I know
what?
cases of, I'm not saying who, but I know someone who lost their YouTube account, had to fight for 3 months. An automated bot was saying his YouTube account was banned, and eventually, after 3 months later, finally a human reviewed it, and it was an error by an automated bot that took his account down. It was a mistake.
So-
It took him 3 months to get the account back.
If I remember correctly, the last, and again I could be completely wrong about this, but I think they've only got about 7,000. Is it 700 employees? Not
You wouldn't
7,000.
think
700.
it for a company that makes fucking
No,
a lot
it's
of money,
not a
YouTube.
large. It's not a large number of human employees. I think it's all built around systems and algorithms, and as you said, bot authorities. So it just generally, it's if you've got millions and millions of people all flooding the gates, automation it does help in some format, but I have seen numerous YouTubers say that this system is a broken system, and too many of the younger smaller creators have just lost channels, and still to this day have lost channels because of it, because someone's found an exploit. So there's two potential possibilities as I gave there.
Now you say it, it does seem more plausible, the option of there's an exploit. I mean, if it is that situation, they'll come out in a few days laughing on Twitter, and it will make the news. It will. They've done
Again,
this,
that's
you know what I
my
mean?
gut feeling, or it's. I mean, it's either that, or as I said, someone's really gunning, or someone's just had enough of the broken system and thought, do you know what, I'm just going to make YouTube try and look bad.
You'd think though, if they could do it, they'd go for YouTube's own YouTube channel as well, wouldn't they? That would be even more funnier.
Not necessarily, because to be honest with you, that's a smaller channel. Very few people. It's not as prominent with Bungie, as you can see. It's instantly got straight into the news.
They should go for it. If you really wanted to prove a point, they should do one of my favourite YouTubers. I'm not suggesting it happens. Go for Mr. Beast. Literally, the biggest channel on YouTube is Mr. Beast. Go watch him, people. If you don't, he is awesome.
I don't know. Maybe they have tried it. Maybe they've tried it and it didn't work out. Yeah, exactly. Or maybe they're working their way up. This is another thing. You don't know. It could be right. Start off slow with one of the smaller creators. See if they can find me. No. Okay. Move up again.
I just want to know if Luke's playing Elden Ring in the background.
I guarantee Luke is.
I'm actually 100%. Not. I'm actually not.
In one hand, he's got an Xbox controller playing Elden Ring, and in the other hand, he's got a PlayStation DualSense playing Horizon Forbidden West. I don't know how he does it. He's a very talented boy.
I am talented, but I'm not that talented.
You should see what he does with his feet. I
know. That's for the Switch, that one. A bit of Metroid on the go.
Yeah, no. Some good points there, Removable. Not as big as PewDiePie. Are you sure?
Yes, PewDiePie currently still sits at number 1.
Mr. Beast will surpass him. Eventually, will surpass him. Let's have a look then. So, Mr. Beast. Oh yeah. Oh no, it's Mr. Beast Gaming. Mr. Beast. Where is he? Oh, why Mr. Beast? Right, there we go.
Actually, I think if I remember correctly,
Mr. Beast is 92 million.
I think actually there is isn't there a Chinese or Japanese YouTuber that was?
No, you're right. He's not that. I tell you what though, PewDiePie is at 111 million, but the rate Mr. Beast is going at, he will surpass PewDiePie within the next year. His growth rates. He was on a Joe Rogan podcast, and he was speaking about his growth rate, and it's crazy. It literally is. He does so much for charity as well. He's got his own charity set up, and he's got multiple channels. He doesn't just PewDiePie's got one. Mr. Beast has 6 or more, and he also has channels where he's paid, because he said only 10% of the earth can speak English. So he's got videos where he's got like Brazilian, I think Spanish interpreters to redo the videos with their voiceovers over, so they can get even more. So if you take all of that in, he's actually the biggest. Obviously, based off one channel, he's not the biggest currently. But I would say within the next year or so, Mr. Beast will surpass easily. No problem. He will.
Speak Portuguese in Brazil.
Did they? Maybe it's that. He was on about different languages he's expanded into to get more people to watch his content in different languages. So that was why. But if you ever listen to Spotify Indie Gamer, very interesting podcast, Joe Rogan interview with Mr. Beast. Very good. He knows his stuff. But yes, that was a good topic. I was going to talk about the indie developer, but I think maybe we may leave this to next week, Removable, and try and make it a proper topic. Because I'm not sure
we'll see how it goes.
We will. But yeah, it's been a good show tonight. I'd like to thank Moan Dogg. He's gone now, but it was good to have him on the show. It was, and thanks Luke for popping in. Yeah, I'm the ultimate fanboy, yes, of Mr. Beast. You are right, Indie Gamer. He spends millions on doing videos, you know. Some of his videos that he done with what's that big popular Netflix program he copied? What's it called? Big series on Netflix recently.
Oh, you're talking about the Korean drama, Korean series.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it's called now. Squid
Game, and he talked about that. And everyone thinks the media they hate Mr. Beast, the media do, because it threatens their, jobs YouTube does. And he said, no, I actually asked in the interview, he said, no, I got permission off the Netflix director. He told me to do it. I got all permissions and contracts signed. So nobody, he says, you have to, he says, people think I just not these videos. I have to go through legal processes, health and safety, etc. He says, and yeah, I got permission to do it. And he says that video started at $1 million. By the time I'd finished it, we were at $4 million to produce the one video. So he says sometimes it looks like I don't upload a lot, and sometimes he's got like 3 or 4 warehouses now, studios, and sometimes videos fall through and stuff like that. He says you have about 10, 15 projects on the go or starting it. He's got teams and everything.
But let's be honest, though, he clearly isn't the best because there's no Gears content on his channel.
I know, exactly. But no, the discussion will be on next week, Indie Gamer, about the developer that was developing Heredity. I might know more about it next week, but I want to give it its proper spotlight, Indie. That's why I don't want to rush it in at the end of the show. But yeah, it's... But yes, Luke, thanks for coming on and stepping in. It was nice of you. As you got a day off, you have.
Yeah, no problem at all. Very much enjoyed it, and yeah, always good to come by.
Yeah, thanks for having you on. Do you want to tell people where they can find you? Most of the chat know, but
people know. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna spare you the time that you'll never get back.
The links are in the description anyway, if you want to.
Yes.
If you're on podcast platforms, they're there.
Yeah. Just go to my Twitter and you'll see, pictures of hot toys.
And Jersey.
Hot toys or hot totty?
Well, maybe both. Who knows? Go there for a surprise.
I'll DM you, Indie Gamer. There's the developer of the game, the interview we did with the developer of Heredity. He's had real problems with the name of the game has been trademarked by somebody else, and he's got to change his name of his game and everything. It's absolutely a nightmare. But we're going to bring it up next week.
Yeah, he's put a statement out. I've linked it into my tweet, so if you look onto my tweet, you'll see the actual statement he's placed.
It's a terrible situation, but we'll talk about it next week. It is. But he said to me, I DM'd him, which is annoying. He says, you lot can talk about it. Because all I can do is basically say I'm not allowed to come on the podcast and talk to you about it.
No.
He says, you can do what you like. He says, I can't touch you. But he says, legally, can't do anything. But he's changed his name. He's changing artworks and everything he is. But I think he'd be a bit more careful now, wouldn't he? But
and this is one of it's and a few people have already mentioned on the tweet I've mentioned that this is one of the reasons why they don't showcase off any of their artwork, their creativity because of things like this. And I think that's just, it's probably one of the reasons why we don't see or hear about games or new games coming through, is for simply one of these reasons, is that people will go out their way to try and trademark art that isn't theirs. And it's a shame, really. It really is a shame, and that's probably one of the reasons why we don't get to see or hear about things until they're almost ready to come through.
That's true, but we will work on that for another week. We'll pop that in. But VJ, thanks for coming on. We missed you last week, but glad you're here this week. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It was nice to have Luke back on the show. And it's always a pleasure with Removable Sanity. I speak to him nearly every other night playing Elden Ring.
Elden Ring.
Well, I do speak. He actually just swears a lot. So, yeah. Yeah. I actually had a question for Luke, but I'm not sure if he's still there.
Sure, I am here.
Luke, have you played Sekiro by any chance?
Yeah, I did.
And there was just somebody in the chat who was just asking if Elden Ring was similar to Sekiro, but I haven't really played enough of Sekiro to really answer the question. So I'd like to hand that over to you.
Yeah, it's not. Well, it's similar in the sense that they're both Souls games. But I think Sekiro actually, compared to any other Souls game, whether that's Bloodborne or the Demon Souls or the Dark Souls series or Elden Ring, is kind of on an island of its own. So it's a bit of the combat system is very different to some extent, much more based on aggression than those other games are, and it also incorporates
more aggressive than Bloodborne.
Yes, because so Bloodborne's aggressive because, as I'm sure you know, you can regain health by attacking enemies that have just attacked you. Yeah. Sekiro is aggressive because it's all based on the way that you actually really hurt enemies or finish them off is based on a posture system, which is a bit like what Elden Ring does, except that Sekiro, that posture meter that happens when you attack enemies and you're trying to break the posture meter, Sekiro is not generous with how it gives gives an enemy increased posture towards breaking it. So you have to keep being aggressive and building that meter up. And if you slack off, the meter, the posture meter on the enemy will go down very quickly.
And that meter is visible right on screen.
Yeah. It's different. And also Sekiro, there was quite a lot of stealth elements, which you can get in Elden Ring a little. You can stealth to some extent. You can't do that in any other Souls game. But Sekiro was kind of, had that Tenchu vibe with some of it. So, similar because they're Souls games, but actually moment to moment very not similar. And also obviously the open world element's different. Elden Ring's just a huge open world. Sekiro wasn't. Cool game, very very good game.
I just wanted to add to what you were saying. I just thought that the visual design and everything about that game is phenomenal. Sekiro.
Yes, yeah, it's really good. It's very good. I mean, it's typical From Software, I think it won Game of the Year it released, didn't it? So yeah, so and absent Starfield and God of War Ragnarok, and maybe if Breath of the Wild 2 hits this year, I cannot see From Software not winning Game of the Year for Elden Ring. So
just on behalf of Removable Sanity, I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's enjoying Elden Ring. But
I am, yep.
And if he is, just from your perspective, Luke, I personally think he'd love Bloodborne and Sekiro.
Yeah. I think the one thing I would say with Elden Ring is that, and I say I've played about 23 hours of it, not as much as I've liked, sadly, due to doing other stuff, but and so I haven't come across super difficult bosses yet. I know they exist in the game, sadly due to people fucking spoiling it on YouTube, on Twitter. But what I would say about Sekiro and Bloodborne, I think especially Sekiro, is that you will find yourself hitting that really frustrated barrier more than you do in Elden Ring. A, because it's a more linear experience, there's not the latitude to go and do something else, and B, because Sekiro, some of the bosses in Sekiro are very difficult. They are very, very difficult, and I've not encountered that kind of level of difficulty in Elden Ring yet. It probably does exist.
You do know that removable sanity is a hidden boss. That when you come up against him,
Trust me, there's I think that this is the thing that kind of got me put off Dark Souls games in the first place, was the fact that if you feel like you're hitting a brick wall, and it's just too frustrating. And one of the reasons I'm kind of enjoying this one is that, as you rightly said, you can just, okay, that boss is too hard, let's go elsewhere, enjoy the world still, whilst you're grinding, and maybe do other bosses that you can manage and go back to it. With the previous Dark Souls, it was very much like here's pretty much a linear corridor, even though there may be some slight deviation. You have to get past this boss, otherwise you can't progress.
Yeah.
And so that for me was a little bit more accessible. I know I'm not using maybe the terminology correctly, but it was a little bit accessible for those who probably don't like Dark Souls games.
Yeah. And I think actually Sekiro, funnily enough, I think probably it felt like the least accessible Souls game in terms of, yes, it has stealth and that can help, but actually it's the most demanding Souls game I've played.
Yeah, it's just I totally agree. It's just because I really couldn't get on with it, but the visual design, the character design,
it's really great.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really great.
Better than Elden Ring for me. But I'm over 100 hours into Elden Ring, so I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, to this day, the Souls game with the best visual design for me is by far Bloodborne. I just think that game is just, from at the top of their game, excuse the pun, and in terms of artistic direction and that sort of stuff, it's bosses, etc., music, it's just a different world. I think Elden Ring, I can't really comment on whether Elden Ring hits that yet, but there are moments I think they get very close or match it in Elden Ring.
I was just going to say, in Bloodborne, it's really good that you can attack enemies, gain your health back, but also if there are tough enemies, the grinding in it is really enjoyable, just to beef your character up a little bit. Yeah,
it's got that. It's got some really cool audiovisual feedback when you hit enemies in that game. Quite visceral. It's quite a visceral game compared to other Souls games. And a great parry system as well with the guns, the silver bullets and that sort of stuff. Really different. And obviously, as well, no shields in Bloodborne, which just again speaks to how aggressive you have to be in the game and how it wants you to play.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that was the From Software podcast.
It was.
I couldn't go through a show without mentioning Elden Ring.
To be honest with you, it's kind of deviated your conversation from Hollow Knight.
Yeah. I have to be honest. I did mention Silk Song in the chat earlier.
Silk Song.
Got to get at least one reference.
Mm-hmm.
Silk Song.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
That was good. So Removable, thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. Yes, it was fantastic. It was great to see, obviously, Moan, and it's great to see Luke back again. Hopefully, we'll continue to have them on further down the line and enjoy the topics and conversations and opinions they bring to the system. But of course, it's thanks for let me speak and have a chat, which I like to do. I've been holding in my chat, been trying to stop myself from talking a lot.
But yeah, thanks for coming on. It was good. Have you back on again, and we'll be back next Wednesday. We will. Was there something you want to say there, Removable?
No, it's just really good. No, thank you very much. I was waiting for you to say mention VJ.
I did. VJ, thanks. I thought when you said bye to VJs, because he then asked Luke about From Software Securu, if I've said it right, and then they went on. That's probably why you forgot about me saying.
That's probably what it is. Yeah, yeah, that's what it is.
So, thanks everyone for tuning in. It was a fun show. Thanks to Luke, Removable, VJ, and Moan Dogg, who's gone now. If you check everyone out, links are in the description. And we'll see you all again next week. Thanks, everyone. See ya.
It's now.